I want to say that I'm not going to do the monologue I had planned. I hope you're not disappointed by this. I'd like to take a moment to tell you how this change came about. I was running the show through my mind, and I said to myself, self? It would be impossible not to have a great show with Louis Armstrong as a special guest. Then, when I saw how things were going during rehearsal, I went to my producer, Bob Henry. I said, Bob, I'm going to change my opening monologue. He said, why? The show is perfect. I said, that's the trouble. The show is perfect. If we start doing perfect shows, people are going to be looking for perfect shows every week. So I want to change it. I think this would be a great time to do my worst story. You know, better than waiting until later on in the season when the shows get shaky. We'll do the story now while we got a little something to fall back on, you know? Get it out of the way. And the good story I was going to do for tonight, I'll save for the 16th or 17th show. Well, I'll do the story and you'll see what I mean. It's a rotten story, y'all. The scene is ancient Rome. There's a Roman. His name was Herman. They called him Roman Herman. That alone gives you an idea of how bad the story is. The fad of the era was eating berries. Everyone loved berries. They'd walk around with little pouches. Pouches would be filled with berries. One day, while Roman Herman's roaming the outskirts of Rome, a little rhyme I slipped in. Put the rhyme in because quite often dropouts come in to catch the show. Dropouts like those rhymes. Herman spies lying beneath a bush the most magnificent berry he's ever beheld. Herman stops, picks the berry, stands there praising it. What a berry! So look at the shape of that berry, the texture, the way the twigs hanging on the side. 3 hours Herman stood praising the berry. He decides to sneak the berry back into Rome. He waited until about 4 that morning. That's a good time to sneak, 4 in the morning. Run into anyone, they're sneaking too. Herman goes straight to his best friend's house. He awakened his friend and shoves the berry in his friend's face. His friend said, wow, Herman, what a berry. So, Herman, you'll make a lot of money with that berry. So people will give you $1 each to look at that berry and praise it. The fame of Herman's berry spread across Rome. Pretty soon, everyone in Rome's talking about Herman's berry. They're all saying... They're all saying, have you seen Herman's berry? Wait till you get a look at Herman's berry. Say, wow, what a berry that Herman got. One day, the 3 wise men show up. They've come to see Herman's berry. They have their wives with them this time. These guys had gotten pretty lonesome on a long trip once before. They looked at the berry. They praised it. In fact, one of the wise men's wives said, that sure is a nice berry. Herman became wealthy from the berry. He built a mansion. He got married. As a wedding present, he gave his wife his berry. Well, that's a different story. One evening, Herman and his wife were relaxing in front of the fireplace. They had the berry laying down on a pillow. There's a knock at the door. Herman goes to the door. There was a knock. He wouldn't have gone if there hadn't been the knock. I think I'll stop telling audience there was a knock. From now on, all I'll say is Herman went to the door. Then you can say, must have been a knock. When he arrives at the door, there are 2 guys there. They have spears. They draw their spears on Herman. They say, you the guy with the berry? Herman said, that's not my berry. That's my wife's berry. I gave her the berry. Said, you come to praise her berry? They said, no, we come to seize her berry, not to praise it. That's why I wanted to get that out of the way, you know? I don't want to sneak a story like that in on people. But I wouldn't just leave it there. I was saying, well, I gotta have something else to do to follow that, you know, kind of take a little of the weight off. So the makeup guy told me a story while he was making me up. You know, he wasn't doing anything. So he told me a story about this little kid, you know. It was in the evening, and the kid, his mother and father are sitting in the living room, and the kid says to his father, he said, Daddy, can I have a gun? His father said, no. The kid said, you told me last year I could have a gun. You told me to wait a year, and then it'd be all right. The father said, well, you can't have a gun. The kid said, well, all the other kids on the block got guns. The father said, well, look, I don't want you to have a gun, and that's it. I don't want to talk about it anymore. So the kid goes over to his mother. He said, Mama, Daddy said I can't have a gun. His father heard this, you know. He said, look, then I told you I don't want you to have a gun. That's it. He said, as long as I'm running this house, you're not going to have a gun. The kid said, if I get my hands on the gun, you ain't going to be running this house.